workshop meeting. Noreen is on vacation, so if you would just say your name and say you're present. I'll start to my left.
Jeff Manson, present.
Bonnie Franson, present.
Pat Shea, present.
Dylan Penn, present.
So with that, we have 4 members of the board, and we have a quorum so we can conduct business. I'll point out the fire exits. There are 2 in front of me and behind the audience. One, the main entrance, that's to my left, and then another out here to the patio. With that, can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag. Okay, first item on the agenda is Henry Farms. Hey, Vince.
Hello? All right, there we go. Yes. Vince Peterzak for Henry Farms submission. Basically, we made a submission to address the engineer's comments on the plans. This will enable John Dahlgren of Tim Miller Associates to help prepare the consistency statement. And what we anticipate doing for our next submission is addressing these additional comments of your engineers and a consistency statement for everybody to review.
So, did you have any comments, Sean?
I do. So there's 2 main items I wanted to go over because we're missing some of the bigger items like the SWIP and the secret consistency analysis. The first one, I was able to attend one of the site walks. The one large item that stuck out to me for the design of the roadway was on the lower portion of the lot, and it might be helpful if you could bring up the plans.
Or do we get the latest?
Yes.
Was it a link?
I don't know.
It was a link.
Yeah, the plans are getting pretty big.
Bonnie, that's your, not one of the attached.
could bring up the old plans. There wasn't that much of substantial
Right, the roadway would be,
changes.
way on it?
Page 5 or 6.
Be the intersection of the southern road, so the right road, that's one of the ones going, that right there, from there to the right. It's got station 4600 to 00.
Yeah, it's basically that area between lots 50 and 27.
So you'll note,
About here over to station, what is it? This is 4600? Okay.
so you'll notice the grading on the top of the page adjacent to the roadway. The roadway's placed more or less in a pretty steep section where if they pulled it down page, it might be a little bit flatter and might affect the grading a little less.
A lot of grading go.
Not only that, see the section on the top of the roadway where there are no houses? There's a bunch of grading there that maybe if it was pulled down page a little bit, it could reduce the grading. That's in the wetland buffer. So that was just a one kind of overarching roadway layout comment. The other is, previously, the applicant was looking to phase the construction of the roadway while building some of the lots. So I had a question on how fire access would be obtained, for especially turnarounds, because there'll be dead ends that are created if only a portion of the roadway is built. The applicant since revised and noted that they will build or not provide any temporary turnarounds and build the whole roadway. I just want to make it clear that no building permits would be able to be granted until the roadway was complete, which is quite a bit of money before any.
Or would it be better just to get phased sections to do this?
Well, what our intent is to do phase 1 and build the loop in phase 2 for fire access only, not complete the entire loop road.
I think the roadway was proposed to be constructed in 4 phases
For the SWIP?
for the SWIP.
Okay.
Correct. Stay under the 5 acres.
Right.
Yeah, there is a phasing plan. It's an overall plan with a bunch of hatching.
Again, if we do phase the project, which isn't anticipated, we just provided the phasing for the courts, for the judge to see. If we do phase, we'll make sure we meet all the fire code requirements.
Well, and I think that's my question is if you build phase 1 and 2, right, is there a turnaround in the event that installation of the roadway stalls for a period of time, whatever it is, to make sure that there is adequate fire access during that time?
Yeah, we'll make sure that
Okay.
we meet whatever is required.
Okay.
But is this going to be, are we going to do preliminary?
We're not anticipating that at this time. We're going to get approval on the entire project. We anticipate building the entire project at one time.
Okay, but we're not doing the 5 acre?
I've got to check what was done previously. If we had a waiver previously, we will be requesting it again.
Yeah, because this is looking like you're, at least on this.
Even if we design it that way, you could still get the waiver. No,
The MS4 does.
right.
Yeah, those were really the 2 global, big ticket comments. I did ask for site distances to be provided at all the roadway intersections and the driveway intersections with the roadways. And then just on the building envelopes, I'll say about half of the building lots were presented with building envelopes shown. And then I just asked for the dwelling sizes, including the footprint, total area, and the bedroom counts be provided for each lot.
All retaining walls shown?
Yeah, we were able to grade out most of the site.
I think there are any retaining walls proposed.
So what's the vertical to horizontal over here? I mean, is that really
That's
going to
1
work?
on 2.
Is that going to work without having some kind of retaining walls?
1 on
Yes.
2 would work, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Ashley, you had comments?
Yes, so we are still waiting for the seeker consistency analysis, as was discussed. I think previously the board requested that the plan identify both the current zoning district and the prior zoning district.
Was,
Yes, he
the
was.
ecologist, he was there?
I ended up flagging a trail from the road to each of the wells so that he
Okay.
could go out, and he did confirm that he was out there.
Okay, thank you.
And the wetland specialist is supposed to be walking with Steve Marino to verify the site.
Okay.
You did add the wetland 100-foot local buffer on the utility and grading plans, but it might be appropriate to add that to the first sheet as well.
Okay.
And there were just some items from that June 20th letter where we had set forth the scope of the review. In addition to the seeker analysis, there were some road that will need to be drainage request an updated wetlands delineation, and I believe the recent response letter said that the delineation hasn't changed. But that updated delineation was something that was required by that letter. A chart identifying the steep slopes and showing the steep slopes on the plans. Demonstrate that the lot location restrictions as to wetlands and slopes. So a lot of this might be, set forth in the consistency analysis. I just wanted to raise them as well. And then it does need local wetlands permit. Local sections 57A. For your next submission, if you go through and all of those items that were in that letter that hadn't been addressed yet on the plans, address those, whether in the consistency analysis or if they require actual plan changes as well.
That is what our plan is.
See where 59, 60, 61, and 63 are? The lots?
Yep.
Was that that's a jurisdictional wetland from the town's perspective, but is that an Army Corps isolated or jurisdictional, do you know?
It's non-jurisdictional isolated.
And then number 70, south,
70 or,
70.
yes.
So is there any reason why that can't go down by 47 and 46? I don't know what those lots look like. I'm not seeing grading. I'm just curious because those, at least they seem large lot. Why we couldn't one of those?
Well, there's a drainage swale that runs along the property line, the common property line of 46 and 47, and then there's another one on the other side of 47. Drainage that comes down, it drains from the top of the hill.
Are those drainage ditches or intermittent streams?
Intermittent streams.
You know we have a lot of grading going on between 27 and 50, correct?
Yes,
And why are we doing all that grading there? Just for the road?
correct.
So if we're having a grade for the road anyway, since you're doing all that grading, could the house be tucked over there?
It's my understanding that nothing on this plan can change. It's been agreed between the town board and the applicant and the judge that this is the plan that's to get approved, and any changes to the road or lot configuration must go back to the town board for authorization.
This was previously discussed because when we did the overall review, setting forth the scope, that was one thing that had been asked if some of the lots could be reconfigured to minimize the wetlands impacts and other things. But it was ultimately decided or determined that they were not going to be required to change the configuration at all.
They weren't going to be required, but could they? So in other words,
They
if
can.
you want to change it,
It's got to go back to the courts.
it does?
I don't know that it
Yes.
has to go
I
back
don't
to
know
the
that that's the
court.
case.
I don't know that it has to go back to the court, but I do think it would perhaps need to get the town board to sign off.
That wasn't my understanding. I think it was Don Furyk that was involved on behalf of the town, so, okay. Jeff, any comments or questions?
Not at this time, thank you.
Not at this time.
Dylan? Is everything flagged to be able to do the site walk? That was
Yes.
already done?
Yes.
And is it kind of mowed where you could go in there or not really?
There
Is it
are,
bushwhacked?
well, there are trails where it's grass areas because the quatters have been up there. But when you go into the woods, there's no trails.
Okay.
Ashley could probably, and Sean could probably describe it better.
Are you trailblazing?
It's, once you get in there, it's clear. It's
Okay.
in the beginning that it's
And on the
bushwhacking.
How did you get in there? From where?
Opposite the intersection,
Opposite which intersection?
Camp Monroe.
Camp Monroe?
Yeah.
So over here.
If you park at that intersection, you could walk right across the street. There's the trail.
So there is a trail to get back in here?
Yeah.
Okay. And then once you're in there, you can kind of make things out?
Got to start up the hill a little bit, but yeah, once you're in there, it's flagged. Like the center line of road is flagged.
Okay.
Actually, it would be helpful if you could share the map that we had used with the flag numbers.
Okay. I know I
Yeah.
emailed that to everybody.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
But you just email,
Okay.
do we have it?
And if you give me a heads up, I can make myself available
Okay.
again anytime.
Yeah. I'm going to see what my availability is so I can get out there. And I don't know if everybody else got out there or not, or wants to, but I still need to get out there. Any,
Look for the bears. Look for the bears.
seriously? Did you
He
see?
almost gave me he almost gave me a heart attack.
Did you see one?
No.
I've encountered many bears in this town, believe it or not. It's crazy. I don't want to encounter the ticks, which seem to follow
Yeah,
me,
that,
so
I think Bob had pulled
I
a
need some
couple off.
serious tick spray and my tick clothing on. Anything you wanted to raise, Vince?
Well, right now, we're working on revising. We had previously decided not to revise the water tank and just resubmit for approval.
Okay,
But it was so oversized that we are going to redesign it and make it a smaller size.
Okay.
Because previously, it took into account a lot of additional people tying into it.
okay.
So
But
that- we're working
it's
on that
sized for the typical population you're going to have here?
Correct, for this facility,
Okay, okay.
With fire flow or without fire flow?
with fire protection.
With fire flow.
Correct.
Okay.
And we'll have more information on the next submission.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Sure. Vince, maybe before you head out, Dennis, you want to come on up?
Is this on? Dennis Fordham, Conservation Commission.
I don't think it is on. Turn to, I think it's toward,
Hello?
there you go.
Yeah, okay. Dennis Fordham, Conservation Commission. I did submit written comments some weeks ago. Were they sent to the applicant?
I did not receive any.
Can I ask why comments that we made would not be sent to the applicant?
Well, they're supposed to be, so we'll have to forward them to you. Noreen gets the material, and then she's supposed to forward them around.
Maureen?
Noreen,
Noreen, yes.
yes.
Well, she did get them, but in any case.
I
I think-
recall,
We have them. I'll send them to Vince right now. That way he
Yeah.
has them.
Thank you.
And I sent them to all board members,
yes,
and I sent them again, I think yesterday or the day before.
yep. Did you do a site walk?
Yes,
Okay.
I did, and that's what my report
I know there
reflects.
was like different people going out, so
Yes,
I'm
yes.
getting confused who's gone and who
Yeah.
hasn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to bring up while the applicant is here?
Certainly, so I'll just go through my comments pretty briefly.
If you want
I-
to do a summary, sure.
Yeah, I understand that no tree plan is required because this is a grandfathered project, correct?
Not grandfathered, it's a court-settled project, to be clear.
Okay. One thing that we did notice out there, there's a number of trees, not that many, which are large, old, well-established trees, what I would term under our current tree code as specimen trees, most of them being 24 inches DBH or larger. It would be nice if some of those trees could be preserved. What I asked in my comments is could those trees, and we would be prepared to go out there again, spot those trees on a survey so that we can see whether they do fit in with the current layout and property and which ones could be preserved.
So in other words, could you go out with the GPS and then locate them relative to where they'd be on the site, so you have a sense of it?
Yes.
I mean, I don't see an issue with
I would hope that the
it.
survey could do that.
Because we're not asking you to survey it, which is the agreement. So you're just trying to get a sense of where they are and if,
Why couldn't the surveyor do that? Why couldn't the applicant?
because that's part of the agreement.
So they're under no obligation to protect any tree that's on that property as things stand at the moment.
They're obligated to stay within the limits of disturbance. Would you agree with that, Vince?
Yes, I will agree with that. And it's not the applicant's intent to go out there and clear cut the entire piece of property.
Right. I mean, it is a big property,
Yes,
and around the loop, and they do show the limits of disturbance. The lots are not that big because it was supposed to be a clustered subdivision. As a result, I mean, it is a difficult property. It's not the easiest of properties to develop, but the lots are not that large. Having said that, you know, it would be nice to know if these are very large diameter trees, you know, they may not be on a lot, they may be on a lot, we don't know.
that's right. And there's no way of knowing just by walking out there without some survey
Correct,
data.
right?
That's
So
why I would
that's-
appreciate the cooperation of the
So-
engineer and the applicant to do this.
Yeah, so the applicant is not going to do it, period. So if it's something we want to do, it'd have to be done at the time that we go out for a survey. That's just reality.
Okay. When you say-
Again, because of the court
Yeah.
ordered stipulation we have.
Okay. All right, so maybe that's something we can do, but then that's quite a significant undertaking to do that. But the second point that I made was with regard to the trees that will be cleared on that site. The plans that I had indicated an area that would be preserved, but I just want to make sure that it's carried forward in terms of those trees, those areas that will not be impacted will be clearly identified on the drawings, and there'll be the required limit of construction lines on the drawing and a buffer zone and so on.
They would have to put soil erosion measures in, they would have to install silt fences, they have to
Right.
essentially establish where they can do the grading as
Yeah.
part of the overall plan.
Once construction starts, the disturbance limit lines will actually be flagged with ribbons so that the contractors will stay within the required areas during construction.
But what's to stop the contractor, as things stand at the moment, in clearing the whole site?
They can't clear the whole,
The limits of disturbance will prevent them from,
Exactly. I just want to make sure that that limit of disturbance is clearly defined on the drawings.
it's shown on the map.
shown on the drawings, and it'll be delineated in the field.
Yeah, it's more important than this, it's important for it to be delineated in the field, because that's what the
Okay, all right.
contractors look at,
All right, so, okay.
yes.
My last comment, and I'm not sure whether I was looking at up-to-date drawings, referred to, let me think, streams close to the northeast of the proposed development. Yeah, no,
Opposite.
go top left, go top left. Go
Over
left.
here?
Yeah, along there. When
Oh,
we're
okay,
out there, when
north.
we're out there on the sidewalk, it struck me that some of those properties were quickly encroaching into the stream banks and the slopes. And if you can spot, I was particularly, it looked like lots 6 and 11. So I haven't got the drawing in front of me. Lot 6 and 11 is here, along here, I think.
You're talking about 6 and 11?
That's the one on the plans I was looking at. Lot 6 to 11 along there seemed to me very close to the embankment going down to the stream.
They are. They are.
They are. So that was just a comment. Is that
You know,
okay? How are they going to deal with that?
so I think you've heard the applicant already say that this is the plan and this is what we abide by.
Okay.
I think we can continue to ask, the way to ensure that it doesn't get impacted would be actually to change the lot line so that the stream isn't on the lot. But I think that's something we can ask for. I don't know that it has to be adhered to. So,
And just to that end, I recall that section of roadway when we were out there. It seems to be my recollection that most of the homes were placed at the top of the slope,
Yes.
so
But
that
then the rear yards were sloping down.
right, so there would be
dramatically.
minimal grading in the rear yards required in order to get those installed.
There's actually no grading in the rear yard to get that construction.
Okay.
but I think we have to be pragmatic, that once people own these properties, are they really gonna not put a lawn in, that just happens.
Yeah.
So I don't know how realistic sometimes showing these things so tight are.
Yeah.
which is in the best of all worlds why you would just change the lot lines and then it's not a question, because they'll have markers and they'll know what the limits are.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we could talk about it, but I don't.
As I say,
again,
this is just an observation, and while we were out there on the site walk.
Yep.
The other one that intrigued me was, I think it was lot 38, far east, east end, which shows it going over the stream bed. I didn't, here, this lot here.
Or this to the
That's correct.
I was just intrigued by the fact that we would be taking the lot over the stream.
38,
38 on the drawings I had.
all the way to the left?
Oh, I said
largest
north is
side.
oriented
Oh,
left.
down here. Yeah, that's making me crazy.
No, can I point it out to you?
49, 27. This way? You know, this, I think there's another sheet.
Off
I
page.
don't think it's on this sheet. Yes, here we go.
Just like Frank Lloyd Wright.
But we're going to expect falling water design of the house.
Are you
I
going
have a stream that cuts through my property. I love it. Sit right by the banks.
That's fine. But are you going to preserve that stream bed, or is it going to be
Look at
covered
the
and
limits of
culverted?
disturbance, and you could see what's happening on that lot.
Go to the,
We're not disturbing the water flow.
so I will tell you, I mean, I don't like this layout in general. I think I would hoped it would have been different, but we're hand
I appreciate it.
tied.
I understand. Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's a difficult site. It's got steep slopes. It has a lot of wetland area and streams, et cetera. Having said that, the applicant reduced the total build out by how many units?
50-some units.
So this was a larger project. And so 54 units means there's, you know, more open space being preserved on this, which is why the applicant doesn't really want to make adjustments at this point because they already gave up that many homes. So, you know, is it the best?
Plus,
No.
not just that, but the applicant's hands are tied also.
On both sides,
Correct.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, unless, well, the town would have to petition.
Yeah, I think that's something we could discuss with the town attorney as to whether that would require town board approval, or if, because I know the number certainly was set, the number, the bulk and all of that, but whether the lot lines themselves could be tweaked or not, that's a different question.
And, you know, when we have these questions, we have to go back to the attorneys because they were ultimately involved in the discussions back and forth in the settlement. You know, as a planning board, we weren't there. I was aware of the discussions, but the final and the specificity details, we weren't.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. As I said, you know, it's an old project and there's a lot that's gone before, and I understand there's only so much we can do.
Yeah.
But for future reference on other projects, are you okay if I send my comments directly to the applicant as well as to the board?
I think it's best to go through the planning board secretary so that that's part of the file.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
And I've always submitted them to Noreen, and
Yeah.
I commented that I have not submitted to the applicant, given that you would have the opportunity to review my
So-
comments before forwarding them on to the applicant.
So why don't you send them to Noreen and then CC Ashley? Because Ashley is usually up on status and application, and, you know, she can also remind Noreen to send it if she doesn't see Noreen sending it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
I am usually copied on those.
Yeah,
I do.
She
So,
could just
so
make
you're
sure.
saying that would automatically happen, that they would go to the applicant, or as I can do
no,
that, obviously, on my
no,
distribution.
they do go to the applicant, but I prefer they go to Noreen and then Noreen forwards
Then
them on.
Noreen, that would be Noreen's
Yes.
responsibility to do that.
Yes. Yeah, but they're not intended to be held back or not submitted. You know, we ask you to go out there and provide comments, so yes, they
Yeah.
can go to the applicant.
Yeah, so you can appreciate that, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Go to the effort of making the comments and
I know,
obviously I want
no.
them to be addressed.
right, no, but we understand that.
Yeah, okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
Thank you.
So, next item on the agenda is Golden Delight. My first question is, what kind of car do you drive?
What kind of car do I drive?
Yes.
GMC Yukon.
What is it?
GMC Yukon.
Okay, thank you. I have to rent one when I go to North Carolina for 2 Chihuahuas. It looked about the right size.
Yeah, I got the 3 kids, so it is the right size. You put the 2 all the way in the back that don't fight with each other, and the 3rd one in the middle.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, good evening.
Good
For the
evening.
record, John Queenan with Lankin Tully for the applicant. We're back before you with Golden Delight Bakery. The main reason why I'm here tonight is we did hear back from the building department. We foiled all the records in association with the application.
That just came today, right?
Well, it came to us a couple days ago.
But I think it was just sent to...
It was just forwarded to,
us.
by the applicant, yes, to the board.
Yeah.
The good news is, it looks like that the building did have, or the site had a site plan originally, back in, it's hard to read, but,
For a warehouse and office building with site plan approval granted by the Town of Monroe Planning Board situated in an I-2 industrial district.
correct. Which.
But it's not a warehouse, right?
What's that?
It's not a warehouse, right?
Right now, it's
Well,
not,
right now
it was
it's-
approved
well-
as, yeah, they still have to go through site plan
Yeah,
approval.
but
It's just that there was a site plan approval.
there was a site plan, there have been COs issued, and generally, the building is the same. And the site is the same, although Larkin Drive is now there, where it wasn't before, so,
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah.
How did they get access?
It looks like at one time Old Country Road came in, and if you see that right there, where you just had your cursor with a cul-de-sac, it kind of is drawn,
Right here?
right there. And it looks like at some point in time, then Larkin Drive comes through, cuts off Old Country Road, and they move the cul-de-sac.
'Cause they
back.
I wonder, is, because they show Future Road over here, is that Larkin? It's hard to make out.
Yeah, let me see, let me get up.
I can't get my, so this is north, once again, north going down instead of up.
Right here is Old Country,
Okay, yep, I see that.
then they show, yes, some sort of future road that comes this way.
Yeah. Somewhere, so here's the O and R utility line.
Correct, so on my plan, this is 180, because the O&R.
Yeah, so I gotta, let me do this, because this is making me crazy.
Correct, now we got it.
That would be Larkin then.
Correct.
Because this is coming in from,
Correct, so Larkin is doing like
yeah, exactly.
yes. And then this was the old Country Road that got eliminated when Larkin came through.
So in addition, so just some building plans.
Yeah, that's it, I mean, the site plan was the one sheet. Then there was
There was, like,
building plans, looks like, a couple sections
Architecturals.
for architecturals, which generally still matches the number of garage doors, the location of the docks on that one are pretty much the same as today. Yeah,
Hasn't changed.
All right, so
So-
with that, so you
So-
submitted a site plan.
yeah, so we had a site plan, but the biggest question we had at the last meeting was whether or not we ever had an original site plan and if the building ever had COs, which apparently it does. And so that was going to chart the course on how it was processed. So I guess at this point, it would be an amended site plan application for the list of new uses that are on the site. And everybody has looked at Ashley now.
I'll defer to, I'm going to defer to, exactly.
I looked over there, too.
I'll defer to Ashley.
So I did see what was submitted. It's hard to tell from the plans, and it might just be the way they were, scanned in, but how big each use was. So it appears there were two uses, the warehouse and the office use. But the question would be, what the amount of the square footage is, and confirming that the building, hasn't been enlarged at all beyond what was originally approved.
I think it has. I mean, they added on like little storage sheds and stuff to the original footprint.
Was it even, or was it one? Because it was truck storage and then it says offices, because they said warehouse and offices.
And if you go on I think one of the next pages, it says warehouse area.
Because it almost seems like the offices are just offices for the warehouse, for the trucks.
I think it was one user. I mean, it's listed as
Yeah, I think so, too.
Bill K Express
Yeah.
Company. So it's probably one user that was office with a warehouse.
Right.
That's how
I would
did that.
agree.
And then one of the plan sheets does say truck storage or whatever, but I don't, warehouse or storage or whatever you want to entitle it.
One of the plan sheets tell about the uses.
Yeah, it is hard to read.
Looking at all that's on file in the building department, it might be clearer, be able to read that, but really to determine how much, if at all, the building was enlarged. So if that was done without any, approvals, then that's something that would be essentially treated as if it was not there and it's being constructed new.
Right. That's interesting because they were going to have these angled stalls for the trucks. That's probably where they were going to put.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what the business was at the time.
I mean, that makes,
I mean, this is 1974.
so it was on this side that they were going to put that in.
Yeah, because the frontage is still the same. The dock doors, where the loading docks are, that's still the same today. So,
All right, so Sean, comments?
Sure, so kind of reiterating last time's comments about the water that's supplied to the building. There's the service that comes in off the property that looks like it's going to need an easement. And the applicant noticed that they are working on an agreement with the Village of KJ to provide for Ashley's review, since that was supplied prior to this site plan application. Secondly, the applicant's working on their proposed sewer design, which is going to go out through Old Country Road and connect into the lot where the yeshiva is, or Sherry Torah is. There was a truck turning diagram for a 33-foot box truck. John, is that the largest truck that's used on site? There's no tractor trailers?
yeah, that's what I'm told, is everything's box truck.
Okay. Last time we had a question on the building height, which the applicant says they're working on addressing. If it's over 30 feet, there's some fire code implications that have to be met. So that's why that's important to know. And then last time we had a comment about the tree clearing that may be required, and John's response memo noted that there won't be any tree clearing needed, so.
Few. So, I mean, the big one would be just confirming the square footage of the building and of the previously approved building, the previously approved uses, and then what's been added to it since. That way you could determine the seeker classification and also whether it needs to be referred to the Orange County Planning Department. Could add the setback boundaries, delineate those on the plan. The plan does indicate that a fence on the adjacent property is going to be removed, so you'll need an owner's endorsement from the owner of that property, SBL 2129. The narrative did indicate that there'd be some lighting, landscaping, and refuse areas, so that'll need to be shown in spec sheets for the lighting and materials and all of that. And if you could also, the project narrative, I think it was requested that you specify whether there's going to be delivery trucks and/or any customers coming and going for any of the businesses, and just to give an idea of how, what the truck traffic might be like.
Okay,
And we have the specific plan?
yes. Yeah, I would say use-wise, it's completely different than that. Square footage-wise, we'll try to figure it out, but this building is larger.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a use perspective, what I'd like to see is whatever the uses are, to have the parking,
It's all,
yeah, there, but also to have the parking properly paved, demarcated, because it's been a mess. And I think, it's along Larkin Drive. I think we can improve through this process
Sure.
its appearance.
Okay.
So
we can certainly do that.
I'll start to my right. Dylan, do you have comments?
No.
Pat?
No.
Jeff?
No.
So I guess we'll just continue through the process. Are there any steps we need to take, or we're just waiting to confirm how we're going to process this from a seeker perspective?
Exactly.
Okay. So I guess then we need the specific, has the building changed or it hasn't changed? And then what's the delta of the size of the building?
I'm assuming you want to do the lead agency circulation because we have the county sewer involved. Can I provide that?
Whether it's going to fire or under a,
If you're going to pave the parking lot,
Yeah, probably.
Well, so there's that seeker type 2 where it's reuse of a building would make it a type 2.
but I think John's saying that the building is definitely larger now than it was.
Right, but then does it exceed the,
I think it's 4,000, right?
But the size of the building plus the parking lot improvements would then trigger over 4,000, which would be unlisted.
the type 2, so type 2 relies on, I guess, how you define structure in your code, because usually it applies to the building and not the parking, unless you have defined structure in a way that it would somehow include.
The disturbance.
Yeah, like, so for instance, for a Dunkin' Donuts or for a fast food place where to me, where the whole, drive aisle is for the drive-through, some communities would call that, part of the use, whereas others will say no. So, but I don't know where we are in terms of the total floor area. You're gonna let us know?
The way I look at the floor plan, and maybe if you could pull that back
But pull it
up,
back up.
I see 90 by 120.
So this floor plan? Oh my God. Over here?
Yes, I think that's 120,
120,
4 inches.
I see that.
And then over here, I think that's 88, I think that's 90.
Like 88.
We're at 12,125. So it's like,
What is this piece side, though?
the piece on the side, I think that's a.
Oh, that's a mezzanine?
I think that's a zoom in of the mezzanine.
Yeah,
of
because
the-
it says
of the
upper
office.
here.
Correct.
And this says, I think that says, I don't know what this said, loading dock.
Yeah, it says, the lower one says mezzanine area, and then the upper one says.
This says
I think it
warehouse.
says upper loading dock,
Yeah,
yeah. But that's part of the same.
Warehouse area.
Rectangular square. So if we go by those. It's about 1,200 square feet larger.
So if that was the case, then,
Structures, trailers, were they all being removed? I thought there was storage in,
There was only one shed that was going to be relocated from the front to the side. And I think that's probably 20 by 20, so another 400 square feet.
so it might end up, if parking isn't in. All right, so why don't we not make that determination tonight, but just check the code, our code with regard to structure and the 4,000 square feet and confirm that's type 2.
That, whatever you could determine the addition is, and, because the
you
board
know
would
what,
be approving the addition.
What I'll do is I'll put a line and I'll just dash it. I'll say original building.
Right.
Or something to that
Are,
effect.
are we only approving that addition?
you would need to approve the change.
Well, that's what I was thinking, so isn't it still kind of the whole building because of the change of use part of it? Not from a seeker
The
perspective,
site
just
plan
from our
perspective, it's
approval.
the use, yeah, it would encompass everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I use
But I
the
think it
word
would be good to
amended,
show
but yeah,
the,
You're issuing an amended site plan approval for all of the uses.
and
then
also the
whatever
larger building.
Enlargements are, right, correct. And any of the other improvements that we go through, landscaping, lighting, et cetera.
So, I didn't think about this, and I don't think that this is addressed in seeker, but it's not like this building went through a seeker process probably in '74. It may not have. So it's never gone through a seeker process, but we're reusing it, so I guess it's still exempt in all likelihood.
Slash expanding by less than 4.
Square feet, okay.
The code defines structure as anything constructed or erected on or under the ground or upon another structure or building.
Very broad.
Very broad.
Yeah, I think we'll let Ashley advise us on that determination, because I know, looking at the seeker handbook, it discusses more about the buildings than, accounts more for buildings and parking.
Yeah, it's building driven.
Yeah,
correct.
so, but we'll let Ashley make that determination. Any other comments at this point? No?
I do have a question about that too. So if parking was part of the definition of structure, for seeker purposes, wouldn't we only be looking at where, if any, there was additional paving? It wouldn't, if you're repaving something that was already paved disturbed, then it's already part of the original structure.
I think from a seeker perspective, yes, but from our
Right.
site plan perspective, we're looking at the whole thing.
The whole thing? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that I get.
Yeah, you have us either way. And we're here, so, yeah.
No, us, John, we just want to know how to do it right.
No, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Would it be possible, though, to have that by Tuesday? I'll be back here Tuesday on another matter.
I'll
I
defer
don't want to put
to,
Ashley on the spot, but
I'll
I
defer
think
to
it
Ashley.
depends on, I guess, what the calculation is, if it's definitely under,
the building is definitely under the 4,000. That, I don't think is going to change.
I don't think parking would be as expansion unless it was a restaurant with outdoor seating, something that was truly part of the use. I think we've had that come up before, but I think the board will want to numbers before action to class.
So you want the specific number so that we can classify it?
Okay.
I think that
So, this is type 2, so just for everybody's benefit. Construction or expansion of a primary or accessory appurtenant non-residential structure or facility involving less than 4,000 square feet of gross floor area, not involving a change in zoning or a use variance and consistent with local land use controls. But the other exemption from seeker is here, number 18. Of a residential or commercial structure or of a structure containing mixed residential and commercial uses, where the residential or commercial use is a permitted use, including permitted by special use permit, and that it doesn't exceed thresholds that are in the type 1 section. So, in terms of timing, I'm going to defer to Ashley, whether she can or can't, and we'll decide whether we can add it, so.
Okay.
All right?
Going to be type
Type
2, we'll
two,
just
I
want
think
those
so,
numbers,
too.
so if we get those numbers before, but I don't think there's a real urgency to classify it as type 2 if that's what it's gonna be.
Okay. In the meantime, I'll get you the numbers, we'll address the comments, and then we'll do lighting and landscaping.
Yeah, I'd just like to see the parking areas
Yeah, I'll denote them to be
well
paved.
designed and, et cetera.
We can do that,
Thank you.
no problem.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so next item, John, you're not Eagle View, right? No.
Thank you. I'll see you on Tuesday.
See you. Bye. Eagle View Estates. Give us a, overview?
Good to be back. We were here last month with a design that incorporated a septic system for both lots. It was determined at that time that perhaps it would be, since the testing occurred on natural grade, we should try to maintain that, so we did by extending the retaining walls as discussed at that time. So we proposed or increased the length of the retaining walls and the location of them in the front of the building, front of each house, to accommodate the septic fields as tested and as designed on natural grade. In addition to that, we did propose further retaining walls in the back to try to minimize the amount of grading in the back, and I think we were successful with that as opposed to that bowl kind of effect that we had previously. And this is where we are. The house locations remain, the driveway locations remain as approved by Orange County DPW. Now that the town has allowed a septic design for each house, or for this area, we have done so, and believe we are substantially complete.
I see a lot of grading still happening with the retaining wall, so how's it changing?
There was a lot more in the
Did it go
previous-
farther than where it is right now, up to the
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
wells? Yes?
Much steeper.
Okay.
Yes.
They reduced the grade in the rear.
What are the heights of the retaining walls and what do they look like?
Well, there'll be textured block walls, not mafia block, but
I didn't
sorry,
know.
like a terracrete that's made by Dick's Concrete or something similar. In the front, the height of the walls varies up to 12 feet to maintain the natural grade, and in the back, the heights are less.
Have the wall heights on the map,
Top and bottom of Waller.
top and bottom? Which sheet is it on?
I think it's C4. Yes, C4.
So a 10-foot wall, 8-foot. going on with the wall that's right by the easterly house, where you have the stairs and it's 738 to 730, 8 feet by the steps? I guess same thing on the other side, 727, 736. It's like
Well, we have to retain.
9 feet.
Yeah, well, we have to retain the natural grade, so those walls will be at that height, which will allow a staircase to go up to a main entrance on both houses.
Working. So in other words, I see the corner, 736 to 727, right?
Yep.
And
So the staircase is bringing you up the grade
to the first floor?
to the first floor, correct? So you'd be walking between.
The first floor elevation on the east house is 740. So it's bringing you up to that finished floor elevation. And on the western house, the finished floor elevation of the first level is 738. So that retaining wall and stairs allows you to get to that elevation of the house.
Garage under.
Oh, yes, both houses have a garage under, not alongside.
Otherwise, is there any exposed basement area or ground floor area? But other than at the garage entrances, is any other part of the building exposed? Of the foundation at the ground floor?
No.
Okay. So there's going to be a cut in there, but otherwise the other three sides? Okay, the reason I'm asking is for building height considerations.
Right.
I was just trying to understand. Okay. So, Sean, what are your comments?
So, as we had discussed at the last meeting, the septic testing was done at the elevation of existing grade, as if the septics were going to go in at the existing grade. But the grading previously was between a 4 and 8 foot cut. So essentially the soil that they did the testing in would be taken away when the septics were actually installed. So to that end, that's why the revised retaining walls are provided in the front yards to maintain the existing soil where the septics will go. One question, or the one comment I had that I discussed with David yesterday was that the expansion areas that are required for septic systems, so half of the size that's required for a septic system has to be reserved in order, in case a portion of the septic failed, or if you needed additional area, that can be built at some time in the future. So in order to accommodate that, the walls had to be extended in order to make room for that. Fortunately, you don't have the latest version, but David forwarded a revised version of how expansion are provided, which only extended the wall, another 30 feet.
Correct.
And is that moving the walls in front closer to the lake?
Correct.
And how will that affect the highest wall elevation on that front?
Actually, it didn't too much. I mean, on the western house, the wall actually the grade tapers. So the amount of wall that shows also starts with a lower point and then increases in height. So
Right.
on the western, it's less than a foot. And then as it continues east, it increases to about 8 feet because the grade slopes down. So I think it has a minor impact on the site.
Shown on the,
Correct, yes. Thank you.
Is there any landscaping going in front of those retaining walls, or no?
Another comment that the retaining walls should include the standard retaining wall notes, which just requires that they be designed by an engineer at building permit time, and that a building permit is required pursuant to the building code for wall heights over 4 feet. The applicant did provide a road maintenance agreement, which is really for the shared curb cut and shared driveway improvements, so I suggested actually take a look at that, and that be filed in the county clerk's office with the plat. And then as a reminder, the applicant, the deeds and the easements that are proposed will have to be provided so that Ashley can take a look at those, and if needed, we can take a look at the meets and bounds descriptions. And triple checked in that Walton Lake is actually a 100-foot buffer is wetland, and will need a buffer disturbance permit for the proposed driveways. Lastly, just a reminder, Orange County DPW did provide a conceptual approval, but finalized prior to any disturbance on the site.
And we believe those can be all conditions.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the DEC, but we'll talk about that. Ashley?
So my first comment was about the amount of disturbance in the 100-foot wetland buffer. I know previously it was 7,355, but has that changed now from
No, actually, we maintain that.
the same?
It might be a little different because of the. Take a look at that and let us know.
One other item under the, to be able to have the septics, you'll need to provide the engineer certification pursuant to Town Code Section 5721. The zoning table still refers to the SBL 18461, which isn't, it's no longer being part of the subdivision. I think you had removed them elsewhere, but I did catch that one.
You're gonna send your memo to us?
Could send my comments, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Other items. As far as seeker goes, I think the one question was the amount of disturbance for the 100-foot buffer. I think that was the one item I had remaining for that, but it would be less, if anything, or? No. Okay. Showing both the DEC and Army Corps.
And Army Corps would make sense.
Yeah. So I think it maybe was just added, I don't think it always was, because we previously thought that it needed a local wetlands permit.
So do we
But me
need
at the
the
time,
local, did,
no, if it's DEC, then it's a DEC permit.
so there's no local wetlands if it's DEC. So did we circulate to the DEC?
Yes, I believe. Going to need,
We did it, but for purposes of the SWIP, not realizing that they might need a 100-foot, or they might need a permit from developing in the 100-foot adjacent area.
no, but it didn't specify. They were included as an involved agency, but the reasoning wasn't, and they didn't, I'm not
Did they
seeing a
send back?
response. I'm not seeing one, and usually they do.
They're actually getting away from that,
Mm-hmm.
because we've encountered this in Hyde Park, and then we got a lengthy little email about, don't expect it all the time.
Helpful, because they'd say,
Well, we always got them, so,
It'd be pretty comprehensive.
yeah, and now they're like, nah, sometimes. So, at least that was the response in that instance. So, was this a wetland? Oh, so it is here as a wetland. MO 15. So, have any more comments?
Other than the board will need to complete seeker, I think it'd be appropriate, you could schedule a public hearing, and if you're able to back tonight, or you could always hold off and wait, and issue it next month before opening the hearing.
So, from my perspective, I had thought about it for tonight, except with this DEC item. I would like some communication from DEC, because we don't really even know where the boundary is for the wetland. I imagine it's at the lakes, at the lake edge. But how far does that even go into the site? I have no idea, probably not that far, if it's a 100-foot adjacent area. Because you have to cross over the,
So the 100-foot is noted because we initially thought it was local. So the 100-foot buffer is actually noted,
From the water's edge.
right.
so, is this the water's edge? You have approximate location here.
So
Of
you
Lake
can
Shore.
see the 100-foot buffer just below the proposed septics.
Below the septics?
Yeah. Right,
So
right
this is
there.
100 separation from water line.
Right.
And we've got the retaining wall in, both driveways, and some more retaining wall. So I would like for some communication with DEC, just to take a quick look at it, and for them to say, this is minor, so that we can incorporate that into a negative declaration. So we can do a negative declaration and open a public hearing the same evening, and I would like to be able to incorporate whatever DEC says into the neg deck if we're going to do that. So that's my thought. So to hold off doing a neg deck tonight and doing it on the next meeting before a public hearing if we can.
Can we reasonably expect a response from DEC on that between now and then?
I think for something of this nature, if you contact them directly,
I can reach out to Mike
Mike Fratz, yeah, I think that'd be
see
good.
if what
Yeah, let's see. Because really then, the 100-foot adjacent area kind of needs to be mapped. Yeah. And that all relates to where the shoreline is.
where the 100 buffer is, we're trying to incorporate how much buffer.
Right, because they're gonna have to
Deck.
out. I mean, ultimately, it's probably de minimis, but I feel like we don't have any,
And-
yeah, it's not our say, it
and-
really needs them, for them to say they're okay with it.
And one thing I'll note is because of the shared driveway or shared curb cut, there's not much additional mitigation that can be done within the buffer to minimize the disturbance to the buffer.
Right. Now, also in terms of the neg deck, I don't know what happened to my image. This parcel is not going to become a home in the future.
Is what?
Will not become a home in the future, will not be further subdivided?
No,
Okay. Do we have any notes to that effect on the plan?
not at the moment. It's not part of the application anymore,
Yeah, the lot's not part of the application anymore,
Oh, so it's not,
so we eliminated.
with the exception of the easement.
okay.
Previously, there was a lot line reconfiguration of the lot of
Right.
that, but the lot has since been removed from the application.
Okay, so it's all, but that doesn't mean it won't happen in the future then,
It could happen in the
because it's not part of this application.
correct. But I believe it would need at least one variance in order to propose a home on that lot.
Dylan?
No.
No.
All right, so then I'll make a motion that we set a public hearing tentatively for the, what's the,
We have meetings on the 8th and the 20th August.
okay, so tentatively set a public
Would
hearing.
it be tentatively, or setting it and then set it?
I was gonna say tentative, subject to being able to do the neg deck. That's why I said, so we're gonna set it.
Yeah, I think you could just set it and we'll, for some reason, you'll have to notice it.
We have to postpone it.
You could always keep it open.
Oh, okay, well, but then we're not doing the neg deck before the opening of the public hearing. No. That's the issue.
Wait, and keep it.
Attorneys have different points of view in terms of whether or not you can open a public hearing on a subdivision. Some allow it to happen, and they just make sure the neg deck the negative declaration is issued before you close a public hearing. Others won't allow you to open a public hearing, and I'm not sure of which philosophy our attorney is.
I think it sometimes depends on the, I would say to schedule it and plan on getting something from DEC before then.
Okay, so then I will make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for August 20th at 6:30 or as soon thereafter for Eagle View two-lot subdivision. May I have a second?
Second.
Why don't you call out your vote?
Jeff Manson, aye.
Bonnie Franson, aye.
Pat Shea, aye.
Dylan Penn, aye.
Thank you. So that motion carries, so hopefully we can open it, but it is subject to being able to do the neg deck, and we really like to see DEC's response.
I understand the relationship between the two. I understand. You will reach it, sorry. I do understand the relationship between the two. Sean will reach out to Mike Fratz. Okay, take care of that, that's fine.
Then I would definitely like to see design for the retaining wall. So I'd like the retaining walls included as details, but the actual surfacing of them.
Oh, you want to see a sample board?
A sample.
Or something like that? Sure.
Yeah, that will
Sure.
show us, because it's very visible. It's along, and across from the lake, and we want something that's going to be attractive.
That's not a problem.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody?
You have an architect at.
Yes, that's a good thing I do, yes. Yes, Dennis? Well, that's the other thing. So my thought is perhaps we could get some plantings in front of the retaining wall. So that has to be considered in terms of where that line falls for DEC's wetland area. I don't know that they mind that you plant there. I don't know that you need a permit to put trees or something in there or plantings.
We'll be getting a permit anyway, so.
Yeah. So we don't have plantings there now, correct?
Correct.
So perhaps we can refer to this to Karen, and she could make some suggestions. So we'll have our landscape architect take a look at it.
Yeah, and I've sent out a strong drawing, so there's the buffer zone towards the lake, which is existing trees, which is being preserved, which is good.
Yes. So if the trees will hide the retaining wall, then it doesn't matter, but if there isn't a lot there, then I would like some supplemental plantings. I just have to go back out on the site again, I don't recall. Yeah, yes. Anything else? Thank you. Okay, so I think that's it.
I'll tell you, the walls facing the lake have maybe 4 to 5 feet exposure.
I think the one end of it, though, I thought had like 9 to 10.
33,
they taper
well, yeah,
down.
on the western house, the eastern corner of the retaining wall has a 9-foot exposure.
Yeah, and that's where, because you're doing the combined driveways in,
Correct.
you're gonna be able to kind of see it, so if we could soften up the appearance there, it'd be
Right.
great.
So we'll get Karen's recommendation. We'll get Karen's recommendations once she submits it. That's fine.
Would end up in more disturbance if we split the retaining wall to put like a platform for plantings? Is it better to leave it as one retaining wall, or to,
There'll be, retaining walls will be closer to road, and
if we split it? It's not like we're pushing it back.
can't push it back because it'll affect the septic systems.
Okay, okay.
So you're talking about a terracing towards Lake Road?
Yeah, I've seen some nice terracing where they put then the plantings in, at the terrace. But again, I think now then we're talking about pushing it toward the lake, possibly into the, more into the Jason area. I don't know if that's an issue. We could probably explore it with Mike Fratz. Okay. Okay,
Excellent.
all right.
If y'all calculate the amount of disturbance within the 100-foot, since it might have changed, and I mean, I guess that too kind of depends on where the boundary is, but if we could have at least, rough from the water's edge, just to know what it roughly would be. And it could always be finalized once you hear from DEC.
If it's okay with the board, what we'll do is recalculate that area or confirm and share it with the design, with the engineer and attorney so that they have it in their correspondence with Mike.
So long as Mike Fratt or DEC confirms that the water's edge as mapped
Okay.
is the wetland boundary. Because if it's slightly different, then the buffer location would change.
I guess that's true, so maybe wait until we hear from him, and then that way you don't have to calculate it twice.
Okay, that would be great. Okay.
I'm emailing.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
So anything we need to discuss? Because we're up to minutes, I believe. Okay. So can we do the minutes? March are still out. If you want to,
We'd have to look at each of
if
the minutes.
you'd like to head
and
out,
see.
that's fine,
Thank you.
because we're going to have to reconstruct what's going on with our minutes. And were May 21st the ones that you had reviewed? Aye.
Just a question about the proposed tree law. Is there going to be a review by the planning board of that tree law? Will we get an opportunity to sort of talk to you about it?
So it should be, I don't believe it's been referred yet to the planning board, but usually, so the zoning requires the town board to refer zoning laws to the planning board. I just don't think that's been done yet, at least that I've seen.
You amaze me. So that was, they closed the public hearing. My understanding from Dory Hall was that would be passed to the planning board for review. And I was asked to forward it to the planning board for
So,
review, which is what I did.
so I have,
That's the referral from the,
No.
I did see your email come through.
so,
No, that was part of a conversation with Councilwoman Hool, and there was an agreement with Dennis that he would forward that to us, but it hasn't formally been referred to us by the town board.
and informally, so that I
Right.
could look at it, and I think you also were going to look at it?
Well, it was provided to all of us to start taking a look at it in advance of it being formally referred.
So we do have it.
I understand that. I just don't understand what would, maybe I should ask them, but what would hold it up if they had done with their
Okay, so you need to be on a microphone. So you need, because this is a recorded meeting, and this is part of our official business, and George just told me in my ear you should be, so he can capture what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is that on?
Hello, is it still on?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I just don't understand why if the town board has closed the public hearing, if they indicated that it was then going to be subject to further review by the planning board, why that hasn't officially happened. And I thought our conversations with Dory that me sending it to you was effectively passing it on to you for formal comment.
Were you at the meeting where they closed the public hearing? And
I wasn't at the meeting, but I did listen to the recording.
so do you recall that the board completed a motion to refer it to the planning board? Because
I do not recall that.
right. I mean, I don't know whether they did or they didn't. I just was wondering, since you were more familiar with it. That's what happens in the process, is there'll be a motion and a vote and a resolution to, well, I don't know if it gets a resolution.
I'm just curious to
Usually,
why
yeah,
that
there
hasn't
would be a
happened.
motion.
Yes.
And we could certainly follow up with the town and see if that was, it just wasn't clear from the email I saw that that was meant to be. Usually it's a formal referral from the town clerk.
Yeah, I just don't know. Tony Cardone's anxious to get this thing resolved, agreed, and we can all move on. Because it's going to be the planning board, which is going to have to administer and monitor this tree law,
Right.
along with input from us, if that's the way it's being written.
So I'm gonna say that we table the minutes,
Okay.
so I could check, this is from my board. We're gonna table the minutes so we can reconvene. I'm trying to remember which ones you had
Mine was
reviewed.
March 19th.
Which was yours?
March 19th?
It was March 19th.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll put them, usually I put them in a folder to then be able to act upon, so let me do that for the next meeting. So we'll do this for next week's meeting.
Yeah, we wouldn't.
Would
it was
we be
only
able to?
Well, yeah, we have to have me, Pat, and Bob present at the same meeting to vote on that.
Okay.
Because Nick is no longer on the board, and you, Dylan, and Lou were
We're out.
absent.
Okay. Point we can. All right, with that, I'll make a motion that we adjourn. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.